Okay. Hi, everyone. Happy to see all of you here. Uh, my name is Jacek, and I'm COO in STX Next. And I will talk a little bit about forgotten promise of Agile development. We all are here from different reasons, but what we have in common is that we all contribute somehow to software development. I mean, programmers, testers, Scrum Masters, product owners, managers, leaders, even C-level executives. So we have some kind, different roles and different duties. But at the end of the day, we all want to solve our clients' problems. And I'm going to share a story about this forgotten promise of Agile development. A promise that is able to solve the majority of our problems, but for some reasons, we are not using this opportunity. So first, I will tell you a little bit about the complexity and unpredictable nature of software development. Then I will show you how to use Agile to lower cost, to lower risk, and to increase value that we are delivering to the customer. And at the end, I will try to sum up and indicate some ways how we could improve our Agile process in a company. And this is how we usually see a typical project. So there is a road, the road is clear, there is no impediments on our way, and at the end there is a goal. But of course, unfortunately, the reality is different, and this road is more like a roller coaster. And of course, there is a lot of turns, curves, impediments that we need somehow to resolve to achieve our goal. And we, as humans, unfortunately, are unable to predict the future because all we can do is to just plan one or second step, and that's all because of the complexity and unpredictability of software development. And Craig Lerman, one of the key players in Agile industry, said that most of software is not predictable or mass manufacturing problem. He said that software development is a new product development. And the question, of course, is what does it mean? And the first thing is that we are unable to provide detailed specification at the beginning of the project. Usually, client don't know what he wants, and even if he knew, he is unable to express it clearly enough. Another thing is, for instance, with estimations. At the beginning of the project, we are unable to provide accurate estimations just because we don't know about the future and we can't predict them. Things are complex, they are prone to change, and we are unable to set how long it will take. And last thing, all project activities, we can't predict them just because a lot of requirements, a lot of things will change definitely during the project lifetime. So what we can do is to just embrace the change, but nothing more. So as an answer for that, Agile movement emerged, and people finally understood that we can't use methods that works for offline industry for years, just because software development is different. And there is a lot of methods like Crystal, DSDM, extreme programming, and probably most known for all of you, Scrum. And right now, the Scrum is the most popular framework on the market. So why we should care about Scrum? Why we should care about Agile? And where is this magic of agility hidden? So let's take a look on a value perspective on a typical project. So in Agile, we are able to deliver value after every sprint. And by value, I mean that we are able to deliver working software every iteration. And of course, comparing it to Waterfall model, when the value appears just at the end of the life cycle, the promise of delivering value from the very beginning of the project sounds really interesting. Another thing, let's take a look on risk perspective for a while. So in Agile, every iteration allows us to lower technological risk, project risk, and social risk. just because we are somehow forced to deliver working software every iteration. So if something will not work, we immediately be aware of it. And of course, in Waterfall, we are unable to get working software at the beginning of the project, because at the beginning there are phases like analysis, design, and the working software actually is available somewhere here. So of course we can somehow manage risk. I mean, like for example, PMI shows us how to do, but still we can manage all the risks that we are aware of. And the question is what we're gonna do with risk that we are not aware of. And of course, same story with adaptability. So in Agile, the adaptability, so our ability to change things, change scopes, change requirements is quite high during the whole life cycle, so that we are able to adjust our software based on customer, on our client's feedback. And in Waterfall, the later the stage, the lower the adaptability, and unfortunately, the higher the cost of the change. So it looks like, Agile is kind of, remedy for software development projects. So where is the problem? Why still over 60% of projects, according to chaos reports, are classified unsuccessful? According to Ken Schwaber, who is a creator of Scrum, less than 50% of those who are using Scrum were developing using incremental iterations, which are the heartbeat of the Scrum. And I can deeply agree with Ken, just because my experience is quite similar. And a lot of teams, despite they are declaring that they're using Scrum, unfortunately they are not using the hidden power of Scrum, the hidden power of agility, and this power is just using incremental and iterative approach to deliver software. So to better understand this problem, these three approaches, let's compare three things. So let's compare waterfall approach, incremental approach, and iterative approach. And to do this, let's use real-life examples. So let's imagine we want to build a mobile bookstore application which allows us to buy a book. So I just want to have a list of products that I'm able to browse. Then I want to pick a book, check some kind of details about it, and then proceed to payments and delivery options. So quite simple application that we are able to deliver. But before we move on, one important thing, because one of the key principles of Agile Manifesto is that working software is a primary measure of progress. So let's use such perspective and let's walk in the customer's shoes, follow why, to see how the whole process of delivering software looks from his perspective. So first approach obviously is a waterfall approach. So we have a few phases like analysis, design, implementation, and testing. So after the first phase, which is analysis, we got the documentation, which consists a lot of information related to the product. Then we have design phase, so probably some designs and mock-ups emerge after this phase. Then we have implementation, where we are creating the code base. And last but not least, there is a testing phase when we are trying to check if our code is in line with requirements with documentation. So sounds really promising. So let's start. So first step in a waterfall, it will be analysis, and the goal of this phase is quite simple. So we want to just conduct this phase, and as a result, probably we get some kind of document with analysis, but unfortunately and obviously no working software. So let's move on. Another phase is a design phase. So right now we are able to move from quite vague ideas to something which is more tangible. And yes, it's something more than just a raw analysis, but still from customer point of view, we still got something. Okay, there is a documentation, looks great, but can I click it? No, you can't. So let's move on. Right now we are in third phase, and this implementation phase is the phase when the real code is created, so sounds really great. In general, we got a software, after this phase, but it's still not tested. So we are not sure if we get working software or just a buggy one. And to be sure that all requirements are clear and they are implemented in a proper way, we are running the last phase, and it's usually called testing phase. So we get either working software or list of bugs that we need to fix. So at the end, we can get either working software, working product, or something which is totally different comparing to our initial needs. And this is because usually this is the first time when we deliver our final product. It's usually the first time when we are showing it to the customer. And usually a lot of brilliant ideas appear when we show the final product that customer really can use to the customer. And of course, there is a lot of ideas, but unfortunately, it's too late to implement it. And even if we match our customers' needs, there is, like you see, a risk of some kind of incoherence between this, in this process because of handovers between phases. So designer understands some problem in some way, but developer understands in a different way, and we have a problem. So this picture quite good describes the problem. So usually what client wants is not what he gets, and I believe this guy can get angry when he sees what he has on his back. Okay, so let's take a look on waterfall implications for a while. So there is inability to check if we are building the right product. We have one ability, but it's at the end of the project. Then there is an ability to get product faster than it was planned. So let's imagine this project is for 1 year. So after 6 months, we want to check what we have, and actually we get nothing because we have only documentation or just initial code base. Same story with money. We can't stop project in half. It's impossible. Also, all integration, technological and social risk are quite high during the whole life cycle because only at the end of the project we are really able to check if what we thought we understand and what customer needs is actually delivered. And also deadline somehow determines the end of the project. Okay, so this is you know, some really simple story about building application in Waterfall. I believe it's quite familiar for a lot of you, so let's move on to incremental approach. So incremental approach is about building a bit at the time. So imagine you want to create a superhero and you have quite a formed idea in your head how this superhero could look like, and all you have to do is just to deliver by, you know, piece by piece, functionality by functionality in particular steps. So this time we are not talking about phases like in Waterfall anymore. Right now we are talking about iterations, and usually these iterations are called sprints in a Scrum. And all activities from Waterfall, like, you know, analysis, design, implementation, and testing, they are included inside of the sprint. And of course, it affects only some, you know, selected functionalities, and not the whole scope of the project, but probably the most important ones, and also probably some architectural decisions. Okay, so the first sprint has a quite simple goal. So we want to build a list of products page. That's the first step. It's just because we are building the product step by step, piece by piece. And what we get is, you know, cover of our book, title, author, price, ratings, etc. So some, you know, basic stuff which allows us to pick a book. And after first sprint, so the output of the first sprint, not the second bug, what we have is just the first step of our product, but comparing it to the waterfall model, we still got something what we could show to the customer, and also he can use it and share his feedback and thoughts with us. So even if he is not able to feel the whole process of buying book, because that's the main process of our application, he still got something. Is he allowed to buy a book right now? No. can we stop project here? No, it's not an option right now, so we have to run another sprint. So a goal of the second sprint is to add another increment, and it will be a products page. And how it could look like, obviously some title, cover, price, etc. Probably if we scroll down a little bit, there will be a description of this book. So all information that we need about our book. So after second sprint, what we got is this 2 steps, products list and also details of particular page, particular book. But still, are we able to buy a book? No, we don't. Are we able to stop right now? Obviously not. So let's move on with another sprint. So third sprint, the goal of the sprint is to build cart page. So what we can get is ability to proceed to checkout, some information about quantity. We can delete a book or not. Also, we can check either we want to, treat it as a gift or not. So some stuff related with the cart. And after these 3 steps, it looks quite promising because we have a product list, product details, ability to proceed to checkout. But still, we are unable to buy a book. We are unable to stop project in the current moment. So we decide to move to another sprint. So in the third sprint, the goal of the sprint is builds payments page. So this is the missing piece of the software when we can actually pay for the book we want. How it could looks like, ability to check the payment form, also ability to add new payment methods, check, enter the promotional code if we have any, etc. And finally, we got it. So after the 4th sprint, we got our application, the main process. We are able to move on from the product details, checkout, and at the end we can pay and check delivery options and get the book. Okay, and what is interesting is that not only after each sprint customer is able to give us feedback about particular steps, but right now after this 4th sprint, customer is able to share with us his experience about the whole process. So not only about the first step, but about the whole process. So it looks like we have a better way of delivering software than Waterfall. There is partial availability to check if we are building the right product because we can check after every sprint. Inability to get product faster, unfortunately, because after 2 sprints, all we have is just a product list and the product details. So as a customer, I can do nothing with it. Inability to spend less money than we thought because we have to spend money to just finish this application. To release it, still there are integration risk, for instance, because, for example, if we want to integrate our application with some payments APIs, there could be some problems that we need to handle. And of course, this is a sprint and there is no capacity to do that. So the risk, I think it's quite high. And also deadline determines the end of the project. So same story like in a Waterfall. So let's try iterative approach. That's the last thing. So iterative approach is about building a simple end-to-end version of our product in 1 sprint, then validate it, and slowly builds up quality and features. And also iterating allows us to move from quite vague idea to our desired product, to our realization. So slightly different than incremental, but as you can see, this change in mindset is quite huge. So what we need to do is to figure out at the beginning what is the most important feature or process from customer point of view. And of course, obviously, customers want to buy a book. So the goal of the first sprint is to allow users to buy a book, version 1. That's the important thing. So how we can do it? To do it, we really need to simplify things. So let's take a look at the product list. the product list after the first sprint will be really, really simple. Just a title of the book, author, and price. Nothing more than that. It's quite simple. Probably we can, store it in one table in database. Another step, product details. Same story. Just a title, just an author, price, and ability to proceed to checkout. Nothing more than that. Another step, product card. Very simple, as you can see, probably even without this cover here and without ability to remove it from a card. And the last step, here we can make a lot of trade-offs. So no option to pay by card. The only thing you can do is to cash on delivery and just type your address below. No in separate fields, but only in one big field. Of course, it's just the beginning. So after the first sprint, despite it is a very simple application, we have ability to buy a book, and that's probably the biggest difference comparing it to incremental approach. And also this is a quite huge change about thinking about delivering products. But of course it's obviously not enough to release it to the customers, so we need to run another sprint. So right now we are able to add some features, depends on a current business needs, depends on a current customer feedback, depends on a current market, depends on what we already saw and what we experienced. So the goal of the second sprint is quite similar to the first one. It's just to allow user to buy a book. And what are you gonna do? We'll add some features. So for example, number of results that we get after typing the name of the book or the keyword to the search box. We can add cover. We can add information, either it is paper back or it's a Kindle version. And the second step, we can also add cover, add last price. We can add ability to change the amount of books in our cart. And also we can start with, for example, Visa card at the beginning, and also with ability to use default address, which is probably hidden somewhere else in the application, probably in settings. So quite small things, but what we have right now is another iteration of our application with features that are added based on customer feedback. And still, we are able to buy a book. And again, it's up to you to decide. Either we are ready to release it, or it's too early. Maybe it's not a minimum marketable product. So we decide to move on. So same story, another iteration, another features like ratings, ratings, etc. Information if this product is in stock, information about shipping. So we are adding step by step, sprint by sprint, some small features depend on their value. And also on payments page, we have ability to add a new payment method if we want to. At the beginning, we can start with only one. So after the third sprint, we still got something which is working. And the important thing is that we have an option to release our application after every sprint. So the question is if we want to release it in current form, and if answer is yes, we can just do it. So to sum up a little bit, let's take a look on a time perspective when we are using iterative approach. So we are able to deliver features after every sprint. The features are based on the value that are delivering. Maybe they we decide to deliver features that are either most important or most risky. It's up to us. But if we are delivering working software after every sprint, we have this option to decide when we want to stop our project. And what we got here is this time-saving gap. Of course, if we decide not to spend money for features that are not providing necessary value. So the bigger, of course, the saving, the better, and we can decide to start another project or just do nothing. So it's not worth to spend money on features that have low value. It's not a good idea. So the same story with cost perspective. So the bigger the saving, of course, the better we can save money if we are not delivering features that we thought that they are important, but after receiving customer feedback, we know that they are not. And Jeff Sutherland, co-creator of Scrum, calls this idea of money saving in projects, he calls it money for free. And the whole money that you are able to save is split. 80% goes back to the customer because he will not pay for the features that are not delivered, but 20% of it is a kind of a bonus for supplier. So I would say it's quite fair to split it. And also risk perspective, again, so the lower the risk, the better. After each iteration, we are dealing with real risk because we are somehow forced to deliver software which is tested and also which is able to release. So we need to be ready. And by ready, I mean ready. So not ready, but I have to do something, but ready. And in Scrum, it is called potential shippable product. And the last thing, adaptability, so our ability to change. So in Agile methods in iterative way, there is this gap is quite high, so we are able to embrace the change the requirements, and somehow tailor our product to the current needs. So there are some, of course, implication of it. So there is ability to check if we are building the right product after every iteration, because after every iteration we got working process and we can show it to the customers and get feedback from them. We have ability to get product faster than it was planned. If we decide after the third sprint that it's okay and we are ready to release it, we can do it. There is no such option using incremental or waterfall approach. Same story with money, quite similar like with getting product faster. Also all this risk like integration risk, technological risk and social risk. After each sprint we get a working software, so the team is tested if they are able to work together. Our technological skill is tested, our integration skill is tested, etc. So after every sprint we are able to actually lower the risk. And also not the deadline right now, but delivered value determines the end of the project. So we are not focusing on delivery on some particular date, but every sprint we are checking if we delivered currently enough value to stop the project. If so, you are able to just cut it. But of course, such options are not for free, obviously. So the first thing, there is a huge need of constant and close business and IT cooperation, because without it, there is no ability to embrace changes during the project lifetime. Also, we are somehow forced to receive feedback after each iteration, and based on that, we are able to change our product. Also, high technical skills are needed to allow us to split stories in really tight vertical slices in order to release them often. Also, a quite good understanding of Agile values, principle, techniques. Also, we are using Scrum. Some basic, not basic, I would say, probably some kind of medium or advanced knowledge about the Scrum framework, how to use it, and also willingness to release software after every iteration. So probably stuff related with continuous integration, continuous deployment. It's not for free. It costs us every sprint, but we got an ability to release often. So I encourage you to iterate through your products and ideas because so that you can save money and time and probably make your customers happier. And remember that it is not an iteration if you do it only once. Thank you.
Any questions? So what do you think about merging these two methodologies? Because when you are dealing with the big product, you are not able to provide a draft of all functionalities at the first sprint.
But probably in a big product there is a lot of processes, there is a lot of features, but not all of them are equally, valued. So you have to pick the most important one, the most, crucial, and focus on that. And another step, pick another most important set of features or processes and move on. Because this was, of course, very simple application, but same story with big projects. You're just focusing, one time you are focusing on the, one big set of features or processes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jacek.
Thank you.